Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Alissha Watley.
I'm Tim Havler.
And I'm Mike Brood.
All right, Tim, what's the scenario?
The insured, a father of 4, was out buying Christmas gifts for his children. This year, he decided to splurge and buy each of them an Apple Watch at $400 apiece, and also each of them a toy drone, also $400 apiece.
Someone got a bonus.
On his way back home, he stopped to get gas, and when he went into the minimart for a coffee, a thief stole all 4 Apple Watches and all 4 drones out of the unlocked back seat.
Ooh, a Grinch, you may say.
The insured notified the police and submitted a claim under his 1991 ISO H03. The adjuster considers this to be a covered theft loss, but she knows there are specific provisions in the policy for watches and aircraft. Question: how much of this loss will be covered under the 1991 form? So has anyone ever used or owned an Apple Watch or a drone?
No.
I have a Fitbit, which is kind of Apple Watch-ish, but not quite. But yeah, drone we do have, Tim, and
You do?
primarily used to by my son to scare the dogs here in the house.
And take pictures?
Take pictures. Yeah, really good. Very small little $100-ish drone that really does have great video quality to it. But it's done more crashing into walls, and so no more in-house use of the drone till he gets his drone pilot's license.
Rules are rules.
I've never played with a drone. I don't have an Apple Watch, Fitbit, Google, Samsung Gear, any of those, because
Because you don't like the gadgets.
I'm not a huge gadget person. I mean, I've got my cell phone. I'm already attached to that. I don't need something else attached to my wrist as well. I'd rather have a bracelet than an Apple Watch or whatever device you want to call it.
Yeah, you don't need to be notified of every email that comes in 1 second after it came in.
Yeah, my brother has one, and sometimes he tries to take phone calls with it, and I can barely hear him. I'm like, just use your phone, sir, or whatever. You know, he's up to date. He's got all the gadgets. Good for him. So, and here's another lesson before we get into more of the scenario. Lock your doors, kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have those cool little fobs. Just click, click, lock.
So, Apple Watch. Is it really a watch?
Okay, well, that's a good question because we have a $1,000 special limit of liability for theft of jewelry, watches, furs, precious and semi-precious stones. Ooh, so we have an
Alissha,
Apple Watch.
Yeah, we have a, looks like we have a debate here. So what say you? Watch, no watch? I know where I'm going.
If I think watch, I'm thinking Rolex. I'm thinking timepiece, tells time, maybe the weather, direction. I don't know. That's a watch. What you have on your wrist, that's like another mobile device. It's a watch. It's a calendar. You can take your phone calls. You can do your text messages. You can check the time. You can check the weather. You can check the news. You can check whatever. Is it a watch? It's on your wrist. Does that constitute a watch?
Oh, well said, attorney on behalf of policyholder. Yeah. I think those are some good arguments. And you're right that the original...
Hold on, Tim.
Well, hang
There's
on,
some
Mike.
counter arguments here,
we got to give Alissha her flowers first.
All right.
I mean, obviously, whoever wrote this language in 1950, 60, well, it was probably way before that. The 91 was a carryover. They were thinking of Rolexes. They had no idea people would be wearing these smartphones on their wrists. So if you want to go to original policy intent, I think that's a good point. And I think now Mike is itching to give us the counter argument.
Well, again, I'm a simple man, so I'll keep it as simple as possible. Generally, in insurance, and again, Alissha, very good arguments, and I agree with Tim. Well stated, and some very good things to consider. But I would go back to the approach of if it's spelled out in the policy, that's what it means. So the policy says a watch. And what's this thing called? An Apple what?
Apple Watch.
Watch. So it's not the Apple computer. It's not the Apple iPad. It's not the EarPods. It's not any of that fun stuff. It is an Apple watch.
Watch. Yes, I
And
know.
it's a much more complex watch than, well, some Rolexes are pretty darn complex too. But maybe something not envisioned other than on episodes of Star Trek back in 1991. But it is still a watch by any other name, Tim, is still a watch.
Also a good point.
Whatever.
Although a rose by any other name.
When smelling
I
sweet.
can't complete that. I forget how it goes.
I know.
But, to your point, Mike, we could go to Merriam-Webster too. Because when you
My
don't
favorite
define it in
person,
the policy, we go to dictionaries. And I wrote this down. Merriam-Webster says a watch is a device that shows what time it is and that you wear on your wrist or carry in a pocket.
So I rest my case. Yes. Watch.
All right. Attorney Broad, good argument.
Fine.
On your side, too, would be there was a 1972 New Hampshire Supreme Court case. Watches that were inoperable and kept in display cases were still considered watches for the special limit of liability.
Excellent.
On Alicia's side, and I think this is a powerful argument that the insurance company always has the opportunity to be more specific. They wrote the policy, and if they want to say something about smartwatches, smart devices, smartphones, etc., they could just write it right in there. And along those lines, ambiguities are often construed in favor of the insured because they're just signing. They have no ability to negotiate the terms. So overall, I guess I'll be sitting as judge between the two of you.
All right.
Oh,
I'll judge you, Tim.
I don't know. I don't know which way to go on this one. I have to stay neutral.
No, you can't stay neutral. You have to pick a side.
I would say if this ever came down to it and it went all the way, I think you better hire a very good lawyer to argue this one very passionately and cross your fingers that the judge agrees with your guy or girl.
It works for me. But how about this? In the spirit of compromise, I'm going to move over to Alicia's camp a little bit and say, well, what about this? How does the insurance policy treat something like an iPhone? That is, property similar to your iWatch. You can wear it on your wrist, I guess. Exactly. It tells time.
And it's carried in your pocket, like Merriam-Webster said.
And I'm sure you can get some kind of cool attachment thing that you could put it on your wrist too, I bet. So then is it a watch?
Yeah, most standard policies, they don't really say anything about all the smart this and that. So you just go to coverage C, it's personal property, and it's full coverage under coverage C. Some companies start to issue endorsements, maybe put a limit on it, maybe change the perils that can apply, but that's on a company-by-company basis. If you're just looking at the standard ISO forms, yep, you're going to get full coverage for the smartphones.
And it probably would come down to an individual company decision on how do you look at an Apple Watch, because as Alissha points out so very well, there are a lot of different cool things that your Apple Watch can do, like phone calls and text messages and tell you the weather and play songs. So I could certainly see arguments on both sides. And like you said, Tim, when you have arguments on both sides, that tends to be ambiguous. And we always got to side with the insured. In that sense, we as the insurance company, and I'll say I am now all insurance companies, we are the ones who crafted the language. So we could always clarify it, as you said, Tim. So Alissha, see, I'm jumping over to your side now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What great compromise.
I know. At least you're compromising. I appreciate it.
This time. Next time, we'll see.
Next time it's on. Or, All right. So we've talked about like Apple Watches, iPhones. What about drones?
Drones. There's a property not covered for aircraft, meaning any contrivance used or designed for flight, including any parts whether or not attached. But we do cover model or hobby aircraft not used or designed to carry people or cargo. So in other words, we said we're not covering aircraft, but we are covering model or hobby aircraft. Is a drone a model? Maybe. Is it a hobby aircraft? A toy drone? I'd say yes, definitely. They're using it for fun. That's a hobby. So, unlike the
chasing dogs like my son, so I guess that's a hobby, right? It's good exercise for the dogs.
If that's his hobby, then that's a hobby.
Who's to judge? Right. Good point.
So this one's pretty clear, unlike the Apple Watch where we kind of waffled. I think toy drones, yes, they're going to also get full coverage under the 91 ISO HO3.
And since you brought up waffle,
drones are an aircraft, huh?
They're a hobby.
Hobby aircraft.
There you go.
What else we got?
All right, so we talked about drones. They are a hobby aircraft. Like, is anything what it is? Like a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about vehicles and what's a vehicle? What's an aircraft? What's a watch? I'm confused.
Yeah, what was it? The bicycle was a vehicle.
Oh yeah, right? Bicycle's a vehicle. Even though I don't.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. So, as you know, we always split the analysis between what's covered property. What's a covered cause of loss? What we just talked about was all what's covered property. But what's a covered cause of loss? Vehicles and aircraft is a covered cause of loss. So if you smash your drone into something, you could say it's caused by a aircraft. So that drone could be a covered cause of loss for those purposes. Even if it destroys itself, just like with the bicycle, which destroyed itself by running into the tree. Same thing with the drone. It could be covered property and its own covered cause of loss.
I won't get into that because that whole thing just kind of blew my mind that the vehicle can damage itself. So we won't go there again, but no, that's a great point. But how about this one? The question in my mind is, let's say this whole theft thing happened at the minimart, which wasn't the insured premises, Tim. So unless the guy lived there, but it probably wouldn't be then covered under homeowners policy. So, do we think that would be off premises? Any impact with coverage or anything there?
Well, in the homeowners policy, you get worldwide coverage for your coverage C. This is unlike the BP and the CP. Those are considered on-premises forms. So in the commercial realm, you have to have some sort of specialty or coverage extension like off-premises or in transit or something like that. But the homeowners, they get lucky. They get worldwide coverage subject to some exceptions, none of which apply here. So nope, doesn't matter that it happened at the minimart. Still covered.
Cool.
But he didn't even make it home. And again, lock your doors, kids.
Right. Good point.
Because what did you tell me, Tim? You can't cover stupid?
There's no exclusion for stupid, but we here at PLRB are true professionals. So we say there's no exclusion for negligence.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry for everyone out there.
Apology accepted. But how about this one, Tim? Like in our last discussion, we talked about how with, I think it was, if my memory serves, marijuana, cannabis, how they're making some new policy language changes to the new fabulous 2022 ISO HO form. Is there going to be anything regarding this here drones or aircraft changes in policy there at all?
In the new fabulous 2022 edition, we do have a $2,000 special limit of liability for model or hobby aircraft. Now, it's interesting when ISO makes these changes, usually they include a paragraph or two about their thought process for making the change. So what they said here was, We, this is ISO, have received feedback that due to the increased property coverage exposure resulting from high-value unmanned model or hobby aircraft, such as drones, a special limit of liability to coverage C personal property that addresses the exposure may be more appropriate. So they were clearly intending this for drones. And I think we had, 4 drones at $400 a piece. So that probably would still come in at under the $2,000 limit here. But it's good to know.
That's math is too tough for me. I don't know about you, Alissha, but a lot of counting.
Math is hard. Math is hard. But all right, I'm going to throw a little plot twist up in here. I'm the adjuster. I get this claim. D lost 4 Apple Watches, 4 drones. We pay the claim, but they found the thief, and they were able to get the property back. But I've already paid the insurer. Sure. What happens now?
Oh, they caught the thief.
For once.
I like it. I like it. This is the recovered property condition. We hardly ever look at this, but it says it's pretty short. This is in the back portion of your homeowner's policy. It says, if you, and you here means the named insured, if you or we recover any property for which we have made payment under this policy, you or we will notify the other of the recovery. At your option, the property will be returned to or retained by you, or it will become our property. So that's kind of a jumble. Basically, it just says the insured has the choice. Well, first of all, whoever found out has to notify the other one. And then the insured has the choice. They could either take the drones and the Apple Watches back and give back the money, or they could just keep the claim payment, in which case the drones and the Apple Watches go to the insurance company, and then they could do whatever they want with them. I would guess sell them as salvage. I don't know, Mike, what would you do with that?
We would have drone races, and then we would have a giveaway to give away Apple. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. We would sell those, and of course, take a offset back to the claim for the money that we received. So we would not have drone races.
That sounds like fun, though.
I don't know. This whole thing sounds like a setup. Some guy goes to a gas station, buys a whole bunch of stuff, gets it stolen, then he puts in a claim, and then miraculously he can get his stuff back. But he has to be honest about whether or not he got it back. It's all a scam. Watch.
Well, Alicia's referring this one to SIU.
Yes, sounds like a great attorney and SIU investigator, Alissha. So
there you go. All right, Tim. So what can we take away from this scenario?
To recap, there was a theft of Apple Watches and toy drones.
Allegedly.
In the 1991 ISO H03, the Apple Watches might or might not be subject to the special limit for theft of jewelry, watches, furs, precious, semi-precious stones. The insurance company would simply have to take a position on that and move forward. As for the drones, those are covered in full because they are model or hobby aircraft. The new 2022 edition H03 would place a $2,000 limit on the loss to model or hobby aircraft. And finally, Mike, where can an adjuster go to learn more?
Well, as always, you can check us out at our fabulous, world-famous website at plrb.org. There you'll find all sorts of cool information like FAQs on drones and first-party coverage. There's another FAQ out there on this drone aircraft under the CGL policy for our friends that are on the commercial side. And there's a cool coverage question on if an Apple Watch is considered a watch or a computer, which Alissha and I will go back out, research and read and see if we want to redo our arguments afterwards. So, Alissha, can you share these links with our fabulous attendees and listeners in the show notes?
Yes, we can share that information and the links in the show notes. And there you can also find a recap of the key points from this episode, links to our social media, and information on how to submit your own adjuster story. And don't forget, subscribe and rate us. We'll see you next time, everyone.
Bye.
For now, so long.
views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its membership, or any organization with which the presenter is employed or affiliated. The information, ideas, and opinions are presented as information only and not as legal advice or offers of representation. Individual policy language and state laws vary, and listeners should rely on guidance from their companies and counsel as appropriate.